now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Lark. Are you watching on Twitter? Start the latest in Auburn athletics news as it is officially NFL Combine week, as 6 Auburn Tigers secured their invite to the second biggest stage of their NFL careers so far. Of course, the NFL draft coming up in April, but the NFL Combine, only 6 Tigers, which I think might be more than last year. I feel like I think Eugene Asante was like a big one, Jalen McLeod, and Jarquez Hunter. Unless I'm missing someone in that bunch, those are the only 3 I can really recall that participated in last year's NFL Combine. But this year, you got 3 defensive linemen and you got 3 offensive linemen, as I believe the trenches were probably the more consistent group of anybody last season, of the guys who had to go to the NFL draft. So, of course, you got Keldrick Falk, you got Kieran Crawford, you got Bobby Jamison Travis on the D-line, and Jeremiah Wright, Connor Lew, and Dylan Wade on the offensive line. So far, according to NFL.com, Keldrick Falk is the highest-rated prospect coming out of Auburn University with a 6.45, estimated to be a good starter within 2 years. Second on that list is Kieran Crawford, saying he's going to eventually be an average starter or just be a starter in the league. Jeremiah Wright is third on the list, which I was kind of surprised by. Good backup with the potential to develop into a starter in his career. Bobby Jamison Travis is fourth, with a candidate for bottom of roster or practice squad. Connor Lew, I believe they probably haven't given him a grade yet because of the injury, but I mean, they just kind of saying likely needs time to develop before he does, as well as Dylan Wade getting that as well. And really, the Connor Lew's only flaw right now is the fact that he's coming off of a season-ending injury. That's really all he really needs to get better at. Dylan Wade, I will say, pass blocking needs to be a heavy thing that he works on and proves that he can do in the NFL draft. Of course, I believe everybody from the Combine typically gets drafted, barring any kind of controversy that happens, unless they completely just whiff everything. But I expect all 6 of these guys to get picked up in the NFL draft. I mean, I think Bobby Jamison Travis, and Jeremiah Wright and Dylan Wade are probably going to be your later round guys, while Connor Lew, Kieran Crawford, and Keldrick Falk are going to be your upper round guys. I think it kind of splits right in the middle of that 4th round for each of those 3. But of course, Keldrick Falk is going to be the star of the show. He is projected to go in the first round of the NFL draft. I've seen him up as high in the top 10. I've seen him in the back in the last 10, and I'm really not anything past 20 is where I've seen him at. And of course, I would not be opposed to the Carolina Panthers picking him up. I say that every year for at least one Auburn Tigers, bring him to the Panthers every year. And it's only happened once since I've been a Panthers fan that I can really think of with Derek Brown getting picked up. There's probably some other people in there. I know Eku Leota was a Panther for a while. Cameron Payne was a Panther for a while. There's probably some guys that I'm missing out on right there. But, of course, Keldrick Falk is a big need for the Panthers, so hopefully they are able to get him at 19. But really what I'm seeing from scouts when it comes to Keldrick Falk is they really want to see the speed rushing aspect of his game, trying to see the more burst coming out of him. Of course, last year, I think DJ Durkin, one of the biggest flaws he really has in his defensive game is taking the pass rushers out of the pass rush and putting them into coverage, which, I mean, I don't really think you're going to be utilizing that too much in the NFL. I think when you're a DN, you're a DN. But when it comes for the run blocking and the run defense, that's probably Keldrick's weakest part of his game. And I think in the NFL Combine, if he shows a burst or some kind of speed, I think he can really bring his stock that much higher. I mean, I've seen him up as high as the top 10 in this draft class, and I don't imagine him falling. He has balled out everywhere he's been thus far, so he continues to do that. And of course, he's also younger, which some they're listing as a strength. He won't turn 21 until September. So a really young first round prospect for anyone in need of a defensive lineman. Carolina Panthers, I'm calling out you. Of course, there's another Auburn defensive lineman in this one that could help out in a pass rush. Of course, that's Kieran Crawford, who I think has also seen a surge in his draft stock. I've seen him in round 2. I think I've seen him in early round 3. Not really seeing anything past that. I think Kieran Crawford can really emerge here. And again, he had a really good end of the year. Once Keldrick kind of started off hot and people started double teaming, Kieran really let them know that, hey, maybe you should split off those double teams a little bit more. And started to, I think he led Auburn in sacks, if not mistaken, last season. But really what the people have been saying about him is, he has trouble getting off, like knocking down the blocks and getting around the tackles, which again, didn't really see too much of that problem while he was in an Auburn uniform. And again, another issue with these edge rushers for Auburn has been the run defense. And of course, I think Auburn did a decent job of plugging up the gaps for when stopping the run, but really when it came to around the edges and getting the corner, that's where Auburn really struggled last year. So, I mean, I think Kieran Crawford is going to be a very underrated pick for any team this year. Of course, I'm not going to be opposed to Carolina picking him up either. The Panthers have a key flaw on the defense, and it's like they cannot get to the quarterback. So I will take any edge rusher that I can with every single one of their draft picks if I can. But again, Keldrick Falk is, really started to pick up his stock. He's athletic, is what a lot of people are getting out of him. Of course, he was at the senior game, or Senior Bowl. So, and I think he got a sack in that one. And so 6'3", 251, athletic as crap. And of course, the defensive line are going to be the first group to go for the NFL Combine on Thursday from 3 to 8. Defensive linemen, linebackers, and kickers will be on the NFL Combine on the NFL Network this Thursday. Of course, the last defensive lineman that's going to be in this NFL Combine is, of course, Bobby Jameson Travis. I was a little shocked to have seen him get an invite, not because I don't think he's good enough to show off what he can do, but I just think he kind of wasn't, he had moments where he emerged, but there was a lot of games where he kind of didn't show up. But again, that's one of the things that that he has a weakness of is inconsistency. But size is a key factor. He is 330 pounds, a 6'2", and I mean he has some athleticism, and it's all about just making sure he can consistently play. And again, one thing that was an issue with Auburn's defensive line is, the interior, I would say, was very underrated, but there were a lot of times where the interior defensive line was not doing much in the pass rush. And as a nose tackle, his job wasn't really to do that. It was to plug up the gaps. It was to, help the linebackers get their blitzes off and all that. And I think he did a pretty decent job of that. But the inconsistency when it came to showing up in games and not showing up in games is probably going to be the biggest kicker there for him. Which again, I think Bobby is probably going to be the second to last guy picked in this draft. It kind of depends on how Dylan Wade performs. But I think he could even bring himself up over Jeremiah Wright. Again, the offensive line, the Jeremiah Wright and Dylan Wade were so inconsistent for Auburn that even with them, I mean, Jeremiah Wright, he has a size, 6'5", 340, to be a very underrated guard in the NFL if he can be developed. Of course, 5 years at Auburn, don't really think he got too much development done. There was a lot of times where Jeremiah Wright kind of, got played out of the position and got put out of a position by a defensive lineman, and holding calls stack up a lot. This is also going to play off of Dylan Wade as well. Penalties are going to be a big talking point for every Auburn offensive lineman in this draft class. And of course, even guys that already transferred out, like Xavier Chaplin, how he performed in a loud environment at Auburn now that he's transferred out. And I forgot exactly where he ended up going off to. But really, yeah, I would like to see how Jeremiah Wright really develops in the league. I think if a really good offensive line coach gets a hold of him, he has all the tangibles there to really become a star in the NFL. But really, it's the penalties, man. They pile up. And again, Dylan Wade is the same way. I think Dylan Wade had a lot of holding calls, and I think he had a few false starts. I know he wasn't like Xavier Chaplin false starts, but penalties galore, man. Dylan Wade currently is listed as it doesn't have a grade, so gonna be a later round pick. I'm imagining that's like a 7th round grade right there. But a guy who I expect to get drafted despite his injury and despite not having a grade on here is Connor Lew. I expect him to get picked up in the top 3 rounds because of how good he was when he was healthy. And again, this is just the likely time in developmental league for having a no grade. I think is just something they just put in there because I think Connor Lew should be seen as one of the top centers in this NFL draft class, strictly based off of his film and just how good he was since he was a freshman. He has never not played at a high level in an Auburn uniform. And sadly, his career ended off with an injury, but had it not, I'm sure we'd be talking about Connor Lew going in the 1st round, as well as Keldrick Falk. And Auburn could have had 2 first-round draft picks since 2019, which would be ridiculous. If that's, I say 2019, I mean 2020. Whichever, if no Igbenogany win that 1st round, then that's when it happened. But outside of that, I don't think it's happened since. Good Lord, when else has it happened that Auburn's had 2? I know 04 is like a good answer there, but 2010 with Cam and Nick Fairley, 2013 Greg Robinson and anybody else get picked up in that 2013 draft? It'd be 2014. I gotta look it up now because now that I've made myself look stupid. But I mean, I think that there's a lot of talent that we'll really see emerging next year. Again, Xavier Atkins is going to play his way into it being a 1st-round pick, and so on and so forth. There were 2. D Ford was a 1st-round pick in that draft class. So yeah, Auburn had 2 first-rounders in 2013 as well. Yeah, I think that's as far as that goes. I mean, Braden Smith should have been a 1st-round pick, but he was a 2nd-round pick in 2018. I feel like Auburn has had a lot more 1st-round picks since then, but it is so far in between where Auburn has 1st-round caliber talent that sticks around. Again, even like looking at next year, if Cam Coleman had stayed around, he'd be a top 5 pick, and then Xavier Atkins would be a top pick as well. You might have 3 if one of these other guys really emerge out. I mean, Byron Brown can have a banger of a season and be a 1st-round pick for how good he can be. But yeah. NFL draft coming up in April 23rd to the 25th. Of course, it's the first time in a while. I don't think it's been on my birthday. But super stoked for this. I'm a big NFL draft nerd. I am a sicko for the NFL draft. I absolutely adore watching it. I love the romanticification of it. I love it to death. It's the NFL draft is without a doubt the best draft to watch. Of course, the MLB draft has like 87 rounds. The NBA draft is just a slog to get through. It is rough to get through. And I've not watched an NHL draft. And is there any other drafts that I'm missing? MLB did. Okay, yeah, I'm not missing it anymore, but I don't think. But the NFL draft is by far the best professional draft to watch. So super stoked for that, and super stoked to watch some Auburn Tigers go in that 1st round, first time since 2020 with Derek Brown. So big ups to that. Big ups to Keldrick Falk in his future career as a 1st-rounder. And of course, Keion Crawford, Connor Lew, 2nd-round pick, guys. At least I hope so, because I've already put my name on that. But with that, we're going to go ahead and go to a quick little break. Let's break with Auburn basketball as they get ready for Oklahoma on the road. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, you get that merch on thereport.com. Go to the shop today and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt and your college loop hat. Both those available there. But of course, it's on the War Sports channel. The best way you can support the channel is, of course, by liking the video, commenting on the video. Let me know what you think. Do you think Keldrick Faulk is going to be a top 10 pick, or do you think he's just going to be in the top 20? He's going to be a first-round pick regardless. So it's just which half of 20 or do you think he's going to fall into? But leave that in the comment section below. Of course, the best way to support the channel is by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Help us get to our next big milestone of 2,000 subscribers. Now, as we move on to Auburn basketball, got another big game coming up, trying to add to I can't really say a streak yet. Auburn only has one win in the past 6. So hoping to make it a streak by getting their second win in a row. It'd be the first time Auburn has won 2 games in a row since, man, it's been a hot minute. January 20, a full month since Auburn won that first one, but January 28th, the last time Auburn won their second game in a row. That was on a streak of 4. Man, it's been a slog of a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks really. Now, as Auburn has beaten Kentucky in an absolute barn burner, thanks to Elijah Freeman's game winner, and now the Oklahoma, who is coming into this game, with I think the best 3-point shooter in the SEC. He is top 10 nationally. 44% from the 3-point line is Nigel Pack. That is absolutely insane. Averaging 15 a game, playing in 30 minutes of a game, averaging 30 minutes per game. They got 4 guys averaging double digits, 2 of them averaging 15. Xavier Brown being the other guard doing that. Tay Davis and Darian Reed both averaging 12 and 11 respectively. And one of the issues I've been seeing with this Oklahoma team is they have an inability to finish games. Of course, they had a very long losing streak going all the way down to, I believe that is 9 games in a row they lost in the SEC before they finally got a win over Vanderbilt, got another win versus Georgia, and now they're on a 2-game skid versus Tennessee and Texas A&M. So what does Auburn need to do to win this game? Well, Auburn has not been the best team on the road this season. I can't really say Auburn has been the best team at anything this season. And of course, these are 2 teams that are going to be very inconsistent, and pick and choose which brand of basketball they are planning on playing that day. So, I want to say an Auburn team with a lot to prove going forward. Again, you have 3 very winnable games leading up to that last game of the season at Alabama. This is another must win for Auburn. This is another, we need this one to get confidence going forward for the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament in March. And of course, you're not going to pull the scaredy cat move like you see from the other side of the state, where they're trying to go after the national, like the federal government, to get an illegal move done in the NCAA tournament, which is absolutely insane that that's still ongoing. Thought it was over, but when you cry hard enough, anything can go your way, because people are just tired of hearing you. But Oklahoma, it's going to be tonight at 8:00 p.m. CST on ESPNU. Of course, it's going to be Auburn's first game at Oklahoma since they've been a part of the SEC. And again, I just really, really need, actually, as I'm reading that, Auburn, it's the first time Auburn has ever been to Oklahoma in program history. So, going to need a really big game out of a trio of guys. Both Keyshawn's, again, I want Keyshawn Murphy to continue on. I want him to continue right where he left off in that Kentucky game with the 25-point double-double. Keyshawn Hall, I love what I saw out of his ability to share the rock, but I also need him to play some better defense going into this one. And, of course, Todd Pettiford, I think he has still been playing some of his best basketball this season. So continue to do that. I need to see a lot more out of this bench, but it's really hard to ask of that. I think Elijah Freeman has really started to, show off a little bit, which is great. Just need to see a little bit more from all the other guys. Of course, 5-man sport at all times was basketball, and sometimes Auburn is out there playing with like 2 or 3 when it comes to scoring, at least. But besides the point. But shout out to Todd Pettiford in this one, though, averaging 18.6 points per game and shooting very well on the road. So hopefully that can really emerge into this one as well. Auburn has played a lot of quad 1 teams, and Oklahoma is one of those. So if you want to keep clinching your spot in the tournament and keep moving your seed up, this is a win that Auburn needs to get. I think they can get it, but who knows with the Auburn basketball team. Of course, Auburn baseball. Auburn baseball is taking on West Georgia on Wednesday at 6:00 p.m. Again, a non-con game, so I'm not going to do a full preview of that and go in depth on it. But I expect Auburn to win. They started to show off that their bats can get hot in that series that happened this past weekend against a trio of ranked teams. So I continue to see them get better and better after that Cincinnati game. And, of course, Auburn softball, we'll talk about them on the Thursday edition of College Loop, as they have the J&B Moore Memorial starting on Thursday against Troy. So we'll get to that on the Thursday edition of College Loop. Of course, this is a pre-recorded show. I'll be at a baseball game broadcasting it, and then Thursday will be pre-recorded because I'll be at a softball game broadcasting it. So Diamond Sports galore for your boy the Tank on Twitter. Of course, I'm Dolark. As I stated earlier, your boy Tank on Twitter. Add Dolark on Instagram. Follow me there. Stick around with me. And, of course, don't forget to follow me right at the College League Podcast. Or like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check us on social medias, all every single one of them at the College Loop. Audio version of the show available wherever you get your podcasts, also at the College Loop. But, of course, that's going to do it for the College Loop Podcast yet again. And, as always, War Eagle.